shown us about us.
Für die Dinge, die du über uns geoffenbart hast.
And we want to pray for all of us that you want us to put everything in your hands.
Und wir möchten beten für uns allen, dass du uns hilfst, alles in deine Hände zu legen.
And we pray for this evening worship.
Und wir beten jetzt für diese Abendandacht,
That you bless it.
dass du es segnen mögest.
And that you help us understand things that will soon happen.
Und dass du uns hilfst, die Dinge zu verstehen, die bald geschehen werden.
Jesus' name.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Alright, so good evening everybody.
So, guten Abend. Wie das alles sagt.
Notes are in the livestream group.
Die Notizen sind in der Livestream-Gruppe.
First one I think is the German and the second is the English. Okay, so this evening we want to look at a little bit about the fleeing away of Cestius.
Heute Abend wollen wir das Hinwegfliehen von Cestius anschauen.
And we already looked at this from a slightly different perspective once, but I want to bring this back again and look at this then more closely.
Also wir haben das mal angeschaut, aber von einer etwas anderen Perspektive, aber dieses Mal wollen wir es ein weiteres Mal anschauen und ein bisschen näher anschauen.
Okay, so we understand, right? Cestius comes here and besieges the city.
Wir verstehen, dass Cestius hier ankommt und diese Belagerung, das ist um den Stadt.
Okay, and Cestius is which power?
Und welche Macht ist Cestius?
This is Rome, okay.
Das ist Rom.
So in Rome is which king?
Und Rom ist welchen König? Verfolgt.
The north.
North.
He represents the king of the north, okay?
Also er stellt der König des Nordens.
Because he represents the Sunday law, right?
Weil er stellt das Sonntagsgesetz dar.
Okay. But Rome is also what other power?
Aber Rom ist welche Macht noch?
South and the east.
Yes.
Das Süden und das
Okay,
Osten.
maybe my question is not so good.
Or
What other symbol is illustrating the same power?
Also welche weitere Symbol stellt dasselbe Macht dar?
Babylon.
Yes, Babylon.
Babylon.
So Rome and Babylon is the same, right?
Also Rom und Babylon sind dasselbe.
So both destroyed Jerusalem.
Beide haben Jerusalem zerstört.
Okay. So they are the same power here at the end of the world.
So, am Ende der Welt, die stellen dasselbe Macht dar.
Okay, let's go now to great controversy.
So, zu den Notizen. Erstes Zitat, großer Kampf.
Let's read about Cestius and his retreat.
So, über Cestius und sein Wegfliegen von Jerusalem.
Okay, let us just start and read until bold-faced.
Und wir lesen bis zu den fettgedruckten hin.
You want to read this, Morris?
Peace.
Including the bold-faced.
No one Christian perished in the destruction of Jerusalem. Christ had given his disciples warning, and all who believe his words watch for the promised sign. When you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, said Jesus, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart off. After the Romans under Cestius had surrounded the city, they unexpectedly abandoned the siege when everything seemed favorable for an immediate attack. The besieged, despairing of successful resistance, were on the point of surrender when the Roman general withdrew his forces without the least apparent reason.
Okay, so why did Cestius leave?
So, warum ist Cestius gegangen?
No apparent reason.
No apparent
Also,
reason, right?
kein offensichtlicher Grund.
And we understand Cestius flees away here.
Und wir verstehen, dass Cestius flüchtet hier hinweg.
Okay. Cestius flees away. And there's no apparent reason why he will flee away, right?
Und es gibt hier keinen offensichtlichen Grund, warum er hier flüchtet.
Actually, he was already, they were on the point of surrender to him, but then he fled away.
Sogar Jerusalem war an der Schwelle von des Ergebens und er ist aber ohne ersichtlichen Grund geflohen.
So Celsius flees away, and which kind of mentality did the Jews have?
Und Cestius flüchtet weg und was für eine Gedankengut hatten die Juden?
So, sorry? Yes, they wanted to revenge.
Also die wollten Rache.
In this time of the siege, what kind of mentality did they have?
Während dieser Zeit der Belagerung, was für eine Gedankengut hatten sie?
Were they willing to surrender?
Waren sie bereit, sich zu ergeben?
Yes, they were now coming to the point of almost surrendering, but what kind of mentality did they have during the siege?
Die sind schon fast an den Punkt gekommen, wo die bereit waren, sich zu ergeben, aber während dieser Belagerung, was für eine Gedankengut hatten sie?
They were despairing of successful resistance.
Come on, brother. We looked at this many times.
Rebellion.
Yes. Yeah.
Also es war Rebellion.
So they have a rebellious spirit, right?
Sie haben ein rebelliöses Geist.
Hello, Ella? Okay. So they were not submitting to the Romans, right?
Also sie ergaben sich den Römern nicht.
So and when Celsius fled away, they went after him to slay him, right?
Und als Cestius hier hinwegflüchtete, die sind ihm nachgegangen, um ihn zu schlachten.
So and they in this time they celebrated a success.
So, und diese Zeitperiode hier, die haben einen Sieg gefeiert.
So but who came back?
Aber wer ist wiedergekommen?
Titus. Okay.
Titus ist wiedergekommen.
So Titus came back.
He's the destroyer.
Yes, and he's the destroyer, right?
Titus ist wiedergekommen und er ist der Zerstörer.
And why is it important to understand that he's the destroyer?
Und warum ist das wichtig zu verstehen, dass er der Zerstörer ist? Because they left the city, they left the refuge.
No, they left the wrong. I mean, yeah.
The false, but the
How many Jerusalems do you have?
Also wie viele Jerusalemer gibt es?
So how many Jerusalems do you have?
Wie viele Jerusalemer
You
gibt
have
es?
two Jerusalems,
Zwei.
right? So were they in the right Jerusalem or in the false?
Waren sie in das richtige Jerusalem oder das falsche? False.
They were in the false one, right? In the literal, which is
Sie
the
waren in
bondage,
das
right?
buchstäbliche Jerusalem, was Knechtschaft darstellt.
And the Christians, they fled out of the false Jerusalem into the true Jerusalem.
Die
Right?
Christen, die sind hier von das buchstäbliche Jerusalem geflüchtet zu das geistliche, also das korrekte Jerusalem.
But the Jews, they remained in the false Jerusalem, and then the destroyer came.
Aber
Okay.
die Juden, die blieben in das falsche Jerusalem und der Zerstörer, Titus, ist gekommen.
So and therefore they were then destroyed. Okay.
Und dadurch würden sie dann am Ende zerstört,
Because they were not in the refuge city.
weil sie nicht in der Zufluchtsstadt
Okay.
waren.
But the point I want to make is, what kind of spirit did they have during Titus?
Aber der Punkt, den ich machen möchte, ist, was für eine Geist oder eine Gedankengut hatten sie während der Belagerung von Titus? Rebellious.
Still rebellious, right?
Immer noch rebelliös.
So they had this rebellious spirit.
Also die haben immer noch diese rebelliöse Geist.
Okay. So and who came here to plead with the Jews the last time?
Und wer ist hier gekommen, um mit den Juden zu flehen, das letztes Mal,
Before they were destroyed.
bevor sie zerstört wurden, sind?
Who was it again?
Wer war das? I don't know.
Who came to make the last call of mercy for the Jews before Titus destroyed Jerusalem?
Wer hat das allerletzte Aufruf der Gnade für den Juden gebracht, noch bevor Titus Jerusalem zerstörte? The man in the city?
No?
No. No, I don't know.
I don't know if it's actually Sister White writes it or the pioneers,
Also ich bin mir nicht sicher, ob das von Ellen White ist oder die Pioniere,
but it was Flavius Josephus, right?
aber das war Flavius Josephus.
Here, it's in GC we'll just post it.
Das ist ein großer Kampf und das kommt in den Livestream.
Okay. So now we'll also put the German now in shortly. Okay.
I think this was already done. This was just before the Israeli time.
Yes. Let's just. Okay, let's just read the first 3 sentences. That's enough.
Also die ersten 3 Sätze genügt.
Oh no, just read all of it.
Oder nee, wir lesen es aus.
Brahma, you want to read this first, please?
If they would come forth and fight in any other place, no Roman should violate the sanctity of the temple. Josephus himself, in a most eloquent appeal, entreated them to surrender to save themselves, their city and their place of worship. But his words were answered with bitter curses. Darts were hurled at him, their last human mediator, as he stood pleading with them. The Jews had rejected the entreaties of the Son of God, and now expostulation and entreaty only made them the more determined to resist to the last. In vain were the efforts of Titus to save the temple. One greater than he had declared that not one stone was to be left upon another.
Yes. Okay, so Josephus was this last intercessor.
Christ, yes.
Yes.
So Josephus war dieser letzte Fürbitter.
So he gives
dieser
the last.
Typus für Christus.
He gives the last message of warning, right?
Gibt diese letzte Warnungsbotschaft.
So he gives, in a sense, the midnight cry.
So im Grunde gibt das Mitternachtsruf.
Josephus, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and we see they still maintained this rebellious spirit, right?
Und wie wir gelesen haben, die harrten in ihrem rebelliösen Geist.
And that's why they were destroyed by the Romans.
Darum
Okay.
wurden sie von den Römern zerstört.
Alright, so I just put this in place because we'll come later to this story of the Babylonians, okay?
Also wir markieren das nur, weil später werden wir zu die Geschichte von den Babyloniern kommen.
Okay, but first let's go to 1848.
Aber zuerst lasst uns zu dem nächsten Zitat gehen, 1848.
Okay, this is now taken from Jane Loughborough.
Das ist J.L. Loughborough, Great Second Advent Movement.
Okay, and David, you want to read the first paragraph? Speaking about 1848 revolution.
The commotion and unrest of France spread rapidly to other countries. Prussia, Hanover, Sardinia, Sicily, Naples, Venice, Lombardy, Tuscany, and Rome caught the same mob spirit. Within 3 months, all Europe was astir, and over 30 empires and kingdoms were in the greatest disorder. Thrones were burned in the streets, kings and emperors were fleeing and hiding for fear of losing their lives. Politicians predicted that there would be a general revolution of the governments of the world.
Okay, so we understand 1848 marks the Sunday law, right?
So wir verstehen, dass 1848 markiert das Sonntagsgesetz.
So this revolution was how long?
So diese Revolution war wie lange?
Yes, 3 months, right?
3 Monate lang.
So, and then it stopped, as we can read now in the next paragraph.
Und im nächsten Absatz werden wir lesen, dass es aufhörte.
Philip, you want to read this first, please?
So 3 months later.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 months later, the outburst among the nations quieted down, not however by a settlement of their grievances, but in a manner that journalists themselves could not explain. Of this trouble, Horace Greeley, the New York Tribune, said, "It was a great wonder to us all what started so suddenly the confusion among the nations, but it is a greater wonder still what stopped it."
Okay, so it suddenly stopped, right?
Also es hörte plötzlich auf.
And could they explain why?
Und konnten sie erklären, warum?
No, right? like with Cestius, when he fled away, there was no real explanation for it. Right?
Genauso wie Cestius, als er hier wegflüchtete, es gab keine ersichtliche Grund, warum.
Okay, so revolution stops.
So, diese Revolution hörte auf.
Okay, but how are we to study the Bible?
Aber wie sollen wir die Bibel studieren?
Line upon line, right?
Linie auf Linie.
Yeah, so we must bring everything together.
Also
Okay.
wir müssen alles zusammenbringen.
So and then we can understand what takes place there and what happens. Okay.
Und dann können wir verstehen, was da stattfindet und was geschieht.
So because not every story gives every information.
Denn nicht jede Geschichte gibt das gesamte Information.
But we must bring them all together and then we have the whole information.
Aber wenn wir alle zusammenbringen, dann haben wir ein volles Bild.
Okay, let's go now. We will go now to Jeremiah 34.
So, jetzt gehen wir zu Jeremia 34,
37.
Verzeihung 37.
Okay. And there we will find the exact same scenario. Okay,
Und dann werden wir dasselbe Szenario finden,
like with Cestius. Okay.
wie
And
Szenario
Titus.
wie Cestius und Titus.
Okay, but before we read the chapter,
Aber noch bevor wir diesen Kapitel lesen,
we want to read an excerpt from Prophets and Kings.
wir wollen diesen Auszug von Propheten und Könige lesen.
Okay, let us read the first two paragraphs. Susie, you want to read the first one, and Daniel, you want to read the second one, please?
In the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came he and all his host against Jerusalem to besiege the city. The outlook of Judah was hopeless. Behold, I am against thee, the Lord himself declared through Ezekiel. I, the Lord, have drawn from my sword out of his
Sheath.
sheath. It shall not return any more. Every heart shall melt, and all hands shall be feeble, and every spirit shall faint, and all knees shall be weak as water. I will pour out mine indignation upon thee. I will blow against thee in the fire of my wrath, and deliver thee into the hand of
Brutisch.
brutish men and skillful to destroy.
The Egyptians endeavored to come to the rescue of the
Belagert.
beleaguered city, and the Chaldeans, in order to keep them back, abandoned for a time their siege of the Judean capital. Hope sprang up in the heart of Zedekiah, and he sent a messenger to Jeremiah, asking him to pray to God on behalf of the Hebrew nation.
Alright. So, in what situation was Jerusalem?
So, in welchem Zustand war Jerusalem?
Was besieged, right?
Belagert.
So, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon,
So, Nebuchadnezzar, der König von Babylon,
besieged Jerusalem. Okay?
also hat Jerusalem belagert.
So, we understand Rome and Babylon is the same power here at the end of the
Wir
world,
verstehen am
right?
Ende der Welt, dass Rom und Babylon ist dasselbe Macht.
But what happened now with Babylon? When they besieged now Jerusalem, what did take place?
Aber was geschah mit Babylon, als sie Jerusalem belagerten? Was geschah?
God's people made an allegiance with Egypt.
Okay, yes, they made an allegiance with Egypt.
Gottes Volk sind in einen Bund mit Ägypten eingetreten, das ist wahr.
And in the second paragraph,
Aber in den zweiten Absatz,
The Egyptians came.
the Egyptians came, right? And what did the Babylonians do?
also die Ägypter sind gekommen und was taten die Babylonier?
They abandoned the besieged city in order to.
Yes, right? They fled away from Jerusalem to now meet the Egyptian force.
Also
Right?
sie flüchten von Jerusalem weg, um diese ägyptische Streitkräfte entgegenzukommen.
Okay, and what did this trigger in Zedekiah's heart?
Und in den Herzen von Sedekia, was hat das ausgelöst?
Hope, right?
Hoffnung.
And he then did what?
Und er tat was?
Sent a messenger.
Yes, he sent no messengers to Jeremiah, right, to inquire of him.
Hat Botschaftern den Jeremia nachgesandt, um nachzufragen.
Okay, So, and what I suggest now, because this is what we will read now about in Jeremiah 37.
Und darüber werden wir jetzt lesen in Jeremia 37.
Okay.
Was
What-
ich schlage vor.
What I suggest is that Jeremiah is standing in this little time of peace here.
So Jeremia, der steht gerade in dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens.
Okay, and this is where Babylon fled away. Okay,
Und da ist, wo Babylon wegflüchtete.
okay, so like with Cestius when he fled away.
So wie
Okay.
bei Cestius, als er wegflüchtete.
So here Babylon or Nebuchadnezzar, right, flees away.
Babylon oder Nebukadnezar flüchtet weg.
And it's then this in this little time of peace where now Zedekiah comes and wants to inquire of Jeremiah.
Und es
Okay.
ist in diese kleine Zeit des Friedens, wo Zedekiah nach Jeremia nachfragt.
Okay, so let us read now
So lasst uns
Jeremiah 37.
Jeremia 37 lesen.
Can you maybe open the door a little bit because yeah, it's really Okay, so let's read 3 verses each.
Und wir wollen jeweils 3 Verse lesen.
Let's read down to verse 6,
Bis Vers 6 erstmal.
Jeremiah 37. Yes, you can read verse 1 to 3, and then Daniela, please 4 to 6.
King Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, reigned instead of Coniah, the son of Jehoiakim, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, made king in the land of Judah. But neither he nor his servants nor the people of the land did hearken unto the words of the Lord, which he spake by the prophet Jeremiah. And Zedekiah, the king of Judah, the son of Shelemiah, and Zephaniah, the son of Mosiah, the priest, to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, Pray now unto the Lord our God for us.
Okay, so here in verse 3, what do we read about?
So was lesen wir hier in Vers 3? Über was lesen wir?
What is called?
Yes, exactly. Now Zedekiah sent the messengers to Jeremiah, right?
Jetzt sendet Zedekia diese Botschaft an den Jeremia nach.
Okay, and he wants now to inquire of the Lord.
Und er möchte nach dem Herrn bitten.
Therefore, what happened already in verse 3,
So was geschah bereits in Vers 3,
according to the quote by Sister White?
gemäß dem Zitat von
Yes. So Babylon already fled away, and now he sends these messengers,
Also
right?
Babylon ist bereits weggeflüchtet und jetzt sendet er diese Botschaften.
So it would be in this little time of peace here.
Und das
Okay.
wäre dann in diese kleine Zeit des Friedens sein.
So, and now let's read verse 4.
Und jetzt Vers 4.
Sister Daniela, please.
Now Jeremiah came in and went out among the people, for they had not put him into prison.
Okay, so he's not where yet?
Er ist noch nicht wo?
Not yet in prison. Therefore, he's not here yet, right?
Also er ist noch nicht im Gefängnis, weil das ist hier drin markiert.
So the prison begins with a midnight cry.
Der Gefängnis, das fängt mit Mitternachtsruf an.
Okay, so therefore the Babylonians, they besiege the city,
So die Babylonier, die belagern der Stadt,
they flee away here,
die flüchten hier weg.
and now he's not yet in prison, therefore he must be in this little time of peace.
Aber
Okay,
Jeremia ist noch nicht im Gefängnis, also denn dementsprechend muss es hier in der kleinen Zeit des Friedens sein.
and this is now where the inquiry begins, okay?
Und da fängt diese Nachfrage, also der Frage nach Gott an.
Inquiry. Okay. So let's read now verses 5 to 6. You can also read this, please, Daniel.
Die Verse von 6 jetzt.
Then Pharaoh's army was come forth out of Egypt, and when the Chaldeans that besieged Jerusalem had tidings of them, they departed from Jerusalem. Then came the word of the Lord unto the prophet Jeremiah, saying,
Okay. So what happens here?
So was geschieht hier?
So now Babylon flees away, and according to verse 6, what happens?
So, Babylon flüchtet weg und gemäß Vers 6, was geschieht?
Yes.
So, Jeremia, der erhält das Wort des Herrn.
So a message comes here, right?
Eine Botschaft kommt.
And let's read now, because this is now the message he gives to those servants that inquire of him. Okay.
Und das ist die Botschaft, die diese Diener, die Nachfragen erhalten.
Okay, let's read now what the message is.
Und lass uns lesen, was diese Botschaft
Let's
ist.
read verse 7 to 10. If you really want.
Die
No,
Verse-
sorry, Margaret.
7 bis 10.
Margaret.
Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, thus shall you say to the king of Judah that sent you unto me to inquire of me, behold, Pharaoh's army, which is come forth to help you, shall return to Egypt into their own land. And the Chaldeans shall come again and fight against this city, and take it, and burn it with fire. Thus says the Lord, deceive not yourselves, saying, the Chaldeans shall surely depart from us, for they shall not depart.
Okay. Verse 10 also you can read.
For so you have smitten the whole army of the Chaldeans that fight against you, and there remained but wounded men among them. Yet should they rise up every man in his tent and burn this city with fire.
Yes. Okay. So what is the message that he now gives to those that came to inquire?
So, was ist die Botschaft, die er gibt diejenigen, die nachfragen?
Okay. Yes.
Ihr werdet sicherlich umkommen.
He
Little.
will come back.
Yes, he will come back. Okay.
Er wird wiederkommen.
So, and is it true that Rome came back after the little time of peace?
Und ist das wahr, dass Rom wiedergekommen ist
Ja.
nach der kleinen Zeit des Friedens?
Yes, Titus came back, right?
Ja, Titus ist
And
zurückgekommen.
what did Titus do with the city?
Und mit der Stadt, was hat Titus damit gemacht?
Yeah, he destroyed and burned it.
Er hat
Okay.
es zerstört, aber mit Feuer.
So what is Nebuchadnezzar to do when he comes back?
Und was soll Nebukadnezar tun, wenn er wiederkommt?
Burn the city with fire.
Yes, the same thing, right?
Dasselbe, er wird der Stadt mit Feuer brennen.
And did he do it?
Und hat er das getan?
Yes. Did he destroy the temple?
Wohl. Hat er den Tempel zerstört? Ja.
Yes, right. Did Titus destroy the temple?
Hat Titus den Tempel zerstört?
Yes. Okay. First destruction of Babylon is the same as the second destruction of Babylon.
Jerusalem.
Thanks. First destruction of Jerusalem is the same as the second destruction of
Also
Jerusalem.
der erste Zerstörung Jerusalems ist dasselbe wie das zweite Zerstörung
Because what did they cry out when Jerusalem was destroyed the first time?
Dann, was haben sie geschrien oder von sich gegeben, als Jerusalem das erste Mal zerstört worden ist?
Ichabod.
Ja. Ichabod.
Yeah. The glory is departed. And this is
Yeah.
why it says.
Der Herrlichkeit ist gegangen.
This is why it says they also cried it out in the second destruction. Right?
Und Ellen White sagt, die haben dasselbe gerufen in das zweite Zerstörung.
But they also, the first time they cried it out was in the destruction of.
Aber das erste Mal, dass sie es herausgerufen haben, war in der Zerstörung von.
Okay.
No.
Keep your finger here. Let's go to.
Bundeslade.
Yes.
With the numbers.
Yes. Yeah. Let's go to where is it? Judges. It's in Judges, right?
Das ist ein Richter.
No, First Samuel.
Der erste Samuel. Eli.
First Samuel chapter 4, right?
1. Samuel, Kapitel 4.
This is when Eli's sons were smitten and the Ark of the Covenant was taken by the Philistines.
Wo Elis Sohne geschlachtet werden und das Bundeslade von den Philister weggeführt wird.
Yes, and how old was Eli when he died then?
Und wie alt war Eli, als er hier starb?
98.
Yes. And how long did he rule? Let's read verse 18.
Und Vers 18,
Or
wie
let's
lange,
read verse 17 and 18.
die Verse 17 und 80, wie lange regierte er? Oder
Fyodor, you want to read verse 17 and 18, please?
The messenger answered and said, Israel is fled before the Philistines, and there had been also a great slaughter among the people. And thy two sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God is taken.
Okay, stop here. What hath there been also?
So, was war auch?
The ark was taken.
What is the great slaughter?
Es gab
Right?
eine große Schlacht.
And what is the day of the great slaughter?
Und was ist der Tag der großen Schlacht?
Yes, that's
Isaiah 30.
yes. Keep your finger here. Let's go to Isaiah 30.
Haltet euren Platz hier, gehen wir zu Jesaja 30.
The harvest is also the slaughter.
Sorry,
The harvest is also the slaughter.
the harvest.
The harvest, yes. The Tag der Schlacht.
Why do you say the harvest? Where do you have it?
Yeah, I
scripture
will
for
show
this.
you.
So let's go to Isaiah 30. Let's read
Jesaja
verse.
30
Let's read verse 25.
und Vers 25.
And Scott, do you want to read this one?
And there shall be upon every high mountain and upon every high hill rivers and streams of water in the day of the great slaughter when the towers fall.
Yes. Okay, it's the day of great slaughter,
Das ist der Tag des Schlachtes.
and I just post now a quote here.
Ich werde ein Zitat posten.
Okay, now also post the German now. I have it here immediately. Okay, and there she will tell us what the great slaughter is.
Und hier wird Ellen White uns erklären, was das große Schlacht ist.
The day of slaughter.
Der Tag des Schlachtes.
Let's read paragraphs 1 and 2.
So, beide Absätze.
It says, Satan was trying his every art to hold them where they were until the ceiling was passed and the covering drawn over God's people, and they left out without a shelter from the burning wrath of God in the 7 last plagues. So about what is she speaking here?
So, über was spricht sie hier?
About the 7 last plagues, right?
Über die 7 letzten Plagen.
So, and then it says, God has begun to draw his covering over his people, and it will soon be drawn over all who are to have a shelter in the day of slaughter. God will work in power for his people, and Satan will be permitted to work also. So what is the day of slaughter?
So, was ist dieser Tag des Schlachtes?
The 7 last
Die
plagues.
7 letzten
Okay.
Plagen.
So when it says here in Isaiah 30,
So, wenn es hier in Jesaja 30 sagt,
in verse 25,
Vers 25,
this day of slaughter when the towers fall,
dieser Tag des Schlachtes, wenn die Türme stürzen,
marks the close of probation in the 7 last plagues, right?
das markiert das Schluss der Gnadenzeit und die 7 letzten Plagen.
Okay. So when we go back to 1 Samuel 4,
Wenn wir zurück jetzt zu 1. Samuel 4 gehen,
let's read again verse 17 to 18.
Verse 17 und 18.
It says, And the messenger answered and said, Israel is fled before the Philistines, and there hath been also a great slaughter among the people, and thy 2 sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God is taken. And it came to pass, when he had mentioned the ark of God, that he fell from off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck brake, and he died, and he was an old man and heavy, and he had judged Israel 40 years. Okay, so where would we put this?
Wo würden wir das markieren?
I mean, he judged now 40 years, right?
Also hat 40 Jahre gerichtet
And then basically the ark of God is taken
und
in
der
this
Arche
great slaughter.
Gottes in diese große Schlacht wird genommen.
Okay, and we understood the great slaughter illustrates the 7 last plagues.
Und
Right?
wir verstehen, dass diese große Schlacht die 7 letzten Plagen darstellt.
So I would suggest then that this marks here this great slaughter here.
Würde ich vorschlagen, dass das hier diese große Schlacht markiert.
Okay, which is because we know this is the 7 last plagues. Right?
Also wir verstehen, das schadet die 7 letzten Plagen.
Not denying that this also more perfectly is here. Okay.
Also das verneint nicht, dass die 7 letzten Plagen hier am Ende sind. Also
Okay.
völliger Sinn.
Because here's the when the towers fall, right? And
It's also at the 9th hour as well.
yes, yes.
Aber es ist auch am 9. Stunde.
Okay. So, but where would we mark now this 40 years that he ruled? So his neck breaks. Does it break here or here?
Also sein Genick bricht das hier oder hier.
That's why I'm not sure at the moment. Okay.
Da bin ich mir gerade in dieser Zeit nicht sicher.
But we have many 40s, right? From here to here.
Also
Okay.
wir haben viele 40er, also von hier bis hier.
But still, at the moment, I'm not 100% confident to place it on the line.
Aber im Moment bin ich nicht hundertprozentig sicher, wo ich das auf der Linie mache.
But it doesn't matter because the point I want to make is
Aber das ist im Moment nicht so wichtig, weil der Punkt, den ich eigentlich machen möchte,
here when you read now verse 19
wenn wir Vers 19 lesen,
down to 21 or
bis Vers
22.
22,
It says, and his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was with child, near to be delivered. And when she heard the tidings that the ark of God was taken, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and travailed, for her pains came upon her. So, what is this?
so was ist das?
Let's go to first. Keep your finger here. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. First Thessalonians.
Haltet
Chapter
euren
5.
Platz hier und wir gehen zum 1. Thessaloniker 5.
Let's read verse 3.
1. Thessaloniker 5 und Vers 3.
Because these birth pains came upon her, right? And was she a righteous or was she a wicked woman?
Diese Geburtswehen kamen über sie und war sie eine gerechte oder eine böse?
She was righteous? No, she was.
Yes.
She was righteous?
Yes.
Why, how do you know?
Phineas' wife.
Why was Phinehas'
Hoffentlich
wife?
Phineas' wife.
His wife was okay.
Literally, she was righteous.
Yeah, maybe.
Uh, She's married to Phineas, which is a wicked
She
person,
said
and she dies here.
despite of being
never
married
righteous.
to him, she was.
Yeah, but it's like a very Vashti story.
I see.
I know.
So he's asking about prophetic, but this represents.
Yes, it's somebody wicked, right?
Also es ist jemand, der böse ist.
Because she fulfills what happens here in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5.
Weil sie erfüllt, was das hier in 1. Thessaloniker Kapitel 5 geschieht.
Let's read verse 3,
Vers 3.
or 2 and 3.
Die Verse 2 und
It
3.
says, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord, so what? The
Tag des Herrn.
day of the Lord, which is the day of slaughter, the 7 last plagues, right?
Tag des Herrn, das ist der Tag des Schlachtes, die 7 letzten Plagen.
Schlachtung.
For the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as a travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Okay, so this is what happened to her.
So, das ist das, was sie geschehen ist.
Suddenly, this travail of a woman comes upon her.
So,
Okay.
plötzlich diese Geburtswehen kamen über sie.
So we understand. I would mark this here at the end
So, ich verstehe, dass ich das hier am Ende markieren würde.
because that's the day of the Lord, right? In this sense that no, it's the punishment upon the wicked.
Weil das der Tag des Herrn ist, in dem Sinne ist es die Bestrafung auf die Bösen.
Because what happens here with the righteous
Denn was geschieht hier in dieser Zeit mit den Gerechten?
in terms of what we just read?
Denn gemäß, was wir gerade gelesen haben.
The travailing.
Yes,
Also sie sind im Wehen.
this is where the righteous have their travail, right?
Da haben die Gerechten ihren Geburtswehen.
Here the man-child is born and they have joy.
Aber hier ist das Menschenkind geboren und sie haben Freude.
But in this time, the world, they rejoice, right?
Aber in diese Zeitperiode hier die Welt frohlocken.
But we understand here the Lord turns your captivity and He brings upon the wicked now all the evil that they brought upon you.
Aber hier, wir wissen, dass der Herr wendet das Geschick und er bringt all diese Bösheit, die diese Bösen über uns gebracht haben, auf sie ihrem eigenen Köpfe zu.
Which is sudden destruction,
Was ist plötzliche Zerstörung.
as a woman in travail. Okay, what we just read in 1 Thessalonians 5.
Wie eine Frau im Wehen, was wir gerade in 1. Thessalonicher 5 gelesen haben.
Okay, and she also, because here's a righteous birth, right?
Weil hier ist eine gerechte Geburt,
Yeah, because this is now the man-child which is born.
weil dieser Menschensohn geboren ist.
But now let's read this here.
Aber lasst uns das hier lesen.
Let's go back to 1 Samuel chapter 4 and let's read verse 20 and 21.
1. Samuel 4, die Verse 20 und 21.
And about the time of her death, the woman that stood by her said unto her, Fear not, for thou hast borne a son. But she answered not, neither did she regard it. And she named the child Ichabod, saying, The glory is departed from Israel, because the ark of God was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband. Okay, so who is born here?
So, wer ist hier geboren?
Ichabod, right?
Ichabod.
Ichabod. Which means the glory is departed.
Das heißt, die Herrlichkeit ist entgangen.
And
Ist gegangen.
this story then ties in together because they said the same thing at the first destruction of Jerusalem and at the second destruction of Jerusalem.
Und diese Geschichte bindet sich zusammen, weil zur ersten und zur zweiten Zerstörung Jerusalems haben sie dasselbe geschrien.
So
Ichabod.
it's the destruction of Shiloh,
Das ist die Zerstörung von Shiloh,
which is the same as
was dasselbe ist,
first Jerusalem and second Jerusalem.
das erste und das zweite Jerusalem.
Okay, it's all the same thing.
Das ist alles dasselbe.
All right. So everybody can follow.
Kann jeder folgen?
Yes.
Amen.
Shiloh is the same. The destruction of Shiloh is the same as the first destruction of Jerusalem and the second destruction of
Die
Jerusalem.
Zerstörung von Shiloh ist dasselbe wie der erste und das zweite Zerstörung Jerusalems.
And yeah, you have a righteous birth here, and you have this wicked child that is born.
Es gibt eine gerechte Geburt hier und diese böse Kind, der geboren ist.
Because the righteous child that is born here, what does it illustrate?
So das
Who is
gerechte
it?
Kind, der hier geboren worden ist, wer ist es? Wer stellt es dar?
Christ.
Das ist Christus.
And what does it illustrate?
Und was stellt es dar?
Yes, right.
Zum Fleischwerden.
Perfectly represent Christ.
So,
Right?
du stellst Christus vollkommen dar.
Yeah. But who else is born here?
Aber wer ist noch hier geboren?
Satan. Yes.
Also Satan, seine
Okay.
Kinder.
Which is Ichabod.
Was Ichabod
Yeah.
ist.
So they now perfectly, for all time, represent Satan, and therefore they get this destruction. Okay.
So, die auf perfekte Weise stellen Satan seinen Charakter dar auf immer und ewig und sie bekommen diese
Because
Zerstörung.
who will destroy them?
Wer wird sie zerstören? Der Vater.
Their own father, right?
Den eigenen Vater.
So they have the destroyer as a father, and their own father will destroy them.
Die
Okay.
haben die Zerstörer als Vater. An ihrem eigenen Vater wird sie zerstören.
All right. So let's go back to Jeremiah 37.
Lass uns zurück zu Jeremia 37.
Okay. And now keep your minds focused because I want to rush now through it a little bit quicker. Okay.
Ich muss schon aufmerksam bleiben, denn ich möchte jetzt hier schnell ein bisschen
That I get to the points I want to get to. because-
durchrennen, sodass ich zu meinen Schlussfolgerungen kommen
Okay,
kann.
let's go to verse 11.
Vers 11.
Because the verses prior to this, we saw that this message comes here, right?
Die Versen davor haben wir gesehen, dass diese Botschaft kommt hier an.
And the message says Titus will come back.
Und die Botschaft hat gesagt, dass Titus wird wiederkommen.
Nebuchadnezzar will come back.
Nebukadnezar wird
And when he
wiederkommen.
comes back, he will destroy the city and burn it with fire.
Und wenn er wiederkommt, wird er die Stadt zerstören mit Feuer.
So let's read verse 11.
Vers 11.
And it came to pass that when the army of the Chaldeans was broken up from Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, then Jeremiah went forth out of Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin to separate himself thence in the midst of the people. Okay, so what does Jeremiah now do when Nebuchadnezzar flees away?
So, was tut denn Jeremia, als Nebukadnezar flüchtet?
He flees out of Jerusalem.
Er
Okay.
flüchtet aus Jerusalem hinaus.
Just like the Christians fled away when Cestius flees
Genauso wie
away.
die
Okay.
Christen flüchteten aus Jerusalem, als Cestius wegflüchtete.
Everybody can see this?
Kann jeder das sehen?
So Jeremiah flees to the refuge, right?
Jeremia flüchtet zum Zufluchtsstadt.
Which is Benjamin in this case.
Und in diesem Fall, das ist Benjamin.
Okay. So let's continue.
Lass uns weiter.
And it says also, why does he do it in verse 12?
Vers 12, warum tut er das?
To separate.
Yes, no. Yeah. And we understand this is now where you must start separating from sin and sinners, right?
Er flüchtet, um sich zu trennen. Und wir verstehen, dass gerade hier markiert der Punkt, wo wir anfangen von Sünde und aber auch Sündern zu trennen.
Also from the Egyptians.
Yes, right. Yeah. So let's go to verse 13.
Vers 13.
And when he was in the gate of Benjamin, so where is he now?
Wo ist er jetzt?
Yes, he's now here at the gate,
Am
right?
Mitternachtsruf, hier an der Tor.
So right here he is at the gate. So what happens now? When he was in the gate of Benjamin, a captain of the ward was there, whose name was Irijah, the son of Shelemiah, the son of Hananiah. And he took Jeremiah the prophet, saying, Thou fallest away to the Chaldeans. So what is he now charging Jeremiah with?
So, womit beschuldigt er Jeremia?
Your 7 last plagues have come on you, you're in a fallen condition.
Yes, right? You know, hooked up with the Babylonians,
Yes.
and you committed treason,
Also
right?
du bist mit den Babyloniern im
Verbund.
Verbund und du hast den Verrates begangen.
And we know here, right here, you will be charged with treason.
Und wir
Right?
wissen, dass gerade hier in der Mitternachtsruf werden wir uns des Verrats beschuldigt.
We looked at this some times ago. Luther was charged with treason.
Also Luther war mit dem hohen Verrat beschuldigt.
Jesus himself was charged with
Blasphemy.
no, sedition,
Jesus selber war beschuldigt den
Aufruhr.
Aufruhr.
Paul also.
Paul was charged with treason. Yes.
Paulus auch.
Yes, it's another charge, but we just collect now these people that get charged with treason. There are many people. I know that you one time made a list of these people some years ago. Okay.
Also viele werden beschuldigt mit den hohen Verrat.
So
Es gibt da eine Liste sogar.
and it's a false accusation.
Und
right?
natürlich ist das eine falsche Anklage.
And we understand now the destroyer comes here and he puts these dirty garments upon you.
Wir
Okay.
verstehen, dass der Zerstörer kommt hier und wirft diesen schmutzigen Kleider auf uns.
Because Jeremiah says now in verse 14,
Und Jeremia sagt in
then,
Vers 14,
then said Jeremiah, It is false. I fall not away to the Chaldeans. But he hearkened not to him. So Irijah took Jeremiah and brought him to the princes. Okay, so what happens now?
was geschieht jetzt?
Yes, he gets delivered up. Okay,
Er ist ausgeliefert.
so he gets falsely accused and he gets now delivered up.
Er wird
Okay.
falsch beschuldigt und ausgeliefert.
And then verse 15.
Vers 15.
Wherefore the princes were wroth with Jeremiah and smote him and put him in prison. Okay, so are the kings wroth here?
So, sind die Könige hier zornig?
Yes, right?
Wohl.
So for instance, when the 3 friends were delivered up, Nebuchadnezzar was wroth.
Also wenn die 3 Freunde ausgeliefert waren, Nebukadnezar war zornig.
Potiphar.
Yes, Potiphar was wroth.
Put Joseph in jail.
Potiphar, der war auch zornig und hat Josef ins Gefängnis geworfen.
You have all these illustrations where the kings are wroth here. Right?
So all diese Darstellungen, wo die Könige sind zornig.
For instance, also this morning we studied in Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar was angry,
Zum
right?
Beispiel heute Morgen haben wir studiert in Daniel Kapitel 2, dass Nebukadnezar, der war auch zornig, weil keine den Traum
Haman
hatten.
is also full of wrath here. Right?
Haman, auch hier, voller Zorn.
Okay, and they smite him now and put him in prison. So
Sie schlagen ihm und tun ihm ins Gefängnis.
this is
Job gets smitten.
yes, Job gets smitten, right?
Hiob wird auch geschlagen.
So here you are double T.
Yes.
You're smitten, and we understand this is Isaiah 53.
Und wir verstehen, dass das Jesaja 53
And Isaiah 53 speaks about what?
Und Jesaja 53 spricht
Christ.
worüber?
Getting smitten.
Yes, about how Christ is this man of sorrows, acquainted with grief.
Christus diesen Mensch des Leidens ist, der wohl dem Leiden bekannt ist.
Let's keep your finger here. Let's go quickly to Isaiah 53.
So, haltet den Platz hier und wir gehen zu Jesaja 53,
Let's just read verse 4.
Vers 4.
Isaiah 53, verse 4. No. Schau mal, wie weit ich komme. It says, Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. So, when these princes smite you here, what do the people think?
Also wenn diese Prinzen dir hier schlagen, was denken die Menge, die Volksmenge?
You're smitten of God.
Dass
Okay?
du von Gott geschlagen
Who
worden
is it
bist.
that thinks you're smitten of God here?
Wer denkt, dass du hier von Gott geschlagen worden
Job's
bist?
3 friends.
Yes, amen.
So Hiobs 3 Freunde.
But was Job smitten of God?
Aber war Hiob von Gott geschlagen?
By
He
Satan.
was smitten by Satan.
Er war
Okay?
geschlagen von Satan.
But it will look like that God hath forsaken you in this time, right?
Es wird so aussehen, als Gott dich in diese Zeit hier verlassen hat.
And Satan will make it appear that God now put his curse upon you.
Und Satan wird es so erscheinen, als hätte Gott sein Fluch auf dich gegossen.
And he will put all these false accusations against you.
Und er wird all diese falschen Anklagen gegen dich bringen.
Okay? And then you are this man of sorrow, acquainted with grief.
Und dann bist du diese Menschen des Leidens, wohl dem Leiden bekannt.
Okay? But when Jeremiah got falsely accused, what did he say?
Aber wenn Jeremia hier falsch beschuldigt worden ist, was sagte er?
He said it is false, right?
Das ist falsch.
So, you are not to open your mouth here and justify you, but you can apparently say your charge is false, but then you keep silent. Okay?
Also wir sollen uns hier nicht rechtfertigen oder verteidigen. Hier, wir sollen unseren Mund halten. Aber wie Jeremia anscheinend können wir sagen, dass deine Anklage zwar falsch ist.
So you can say I'm innocent, it's false, but when then these false accusations come against you, you don't
It's when
defend
you
yourself.
when you get
Okay.
delivered up, you don't.
Yes,
defend
yes.
yourself.
Also
Exactly.
es ist, wenn du ausgeliefert bist, dann verteidigst du dich nicht.
Yeah,
But
so-
the guy that first accused him was like an internal thing, but then
Yes,
delivered
yes,
up.
yes.
When you go external, you just say nothing.
Yes,
Also
yes.
derjenige, der ihm ausgeliefert hat, der war zwar so ein internes Ding, aber sobald dass du ausgeliefert worden bist, dann schweigst du.
Yes, exactly. So not saying anything refers to when you are delivered up. Okay.
Also so deinen Mund halten und nichts sagen, das ist in Bezug auf dann, wenn du ausgeliefert bist.
Okay. So let's go back to Jeremiah 37.
So zurück zu Jeremia 37.
We will come to close soon.
Wir werden bald abschließen.
So we were in verse 15. Let's just read it again.
Vers 15, wir lesen das ein weiteres Mal.
Wherefore the princes were wroth with Jeremiah and smote him and put him in prison in the house of Jonathan the scribe, for they had made that the prison. When Jeremiah was entered into the dungeon and into the cabins, and Jeremiah had remained there many days. So how long is he in the prison?
So wie lange ist Jeremia im Gefängnis?
Many days.
Viele Tage.
Okay. Keep your finger here. Let's go to Daniel chapter 11.
Haltet euren Platz hier und geht zu Daniel 11.
And let's read verse 31 and then verse 33.
Die Verse 31 und dann 33.
It says, An arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and they shall take away the daily, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. So where are we historically?
So wo sind wir historisch?
It's 538, right?
538.
When the papacy came up.
Und der Papst aufgekommen ist.
And the next verses, they describe now the 1260, right?
Und in den nächsten Versen, sie beschreiben das 1260.
And it says here in verse 33,
Vers 33 sagt es,
and they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days. Okay. So how is the 1260 here described?
so wie wird das 1260 hier beschrieben?
This many days.
Many days.
Viele Tage.
Everybody sees this?
Kann jeder das sehen?
Okay. So when Jeremiah, when you go back to Jeremiah 37,
Wenn wir zurück zu Jeremia 37 gehen,
okay, so when Jeremiah is cast into the prison, he's cast in there for many days. Right?
wenn Jeremia ins Gefängnis geworfen ist, der wird darin viele Tage bleiben.
Therefore, this is his 1260 experience, right?
Dann dementsprechend ist das sein 1260er Erfahrung.
Right.
Amen.
So when we go back to Jeremiah 37, let's read verse 16 and 17.
Jeremia 37, die Verse 16 und 17.
It says, when Jeremiah was entered into the dungeon and into the cabins, and Jeremiah had remained there many days, then Zedekiah the king sent and took him out. And the king asked him secretly in his house and said, is there any word from the Lord? And Jeremiah said, there is. For said he, thou shalt be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon. So after this many days, what happened to Jeremiah?
So nach diesen vielen Tagen, was ist mit Jeremia geschehen?
Yes, he comes out of prison, right?
Er kommt aus dem Gefängnis
So
heraus.
after his 1260 here, he comes now out of
He
prison.
gets delivered.
So nach den
Yes.
1260 kommt er aus
Ja.
Gefängnis heraus, er wird befreit.
So therefore, we right here at the 9th hour.
So hier an der 9. Stunde,
This is where you're delivered out of prison.
wo du befreit aus dem Gefängnis wirst.
And who else get delivered out of prison right here?
Und wer ist noch aus dem Gefängnis hier befreit? Joseph.
Yes, Joseph, right?
Also Josef.
And he stands now before Pharaoh and gets this new name.
Und er steht vor dem Pharao hier und bekommt erhält das neuen Namen.
Okay, one second here. And what does Jeremiah do here
Und was
when he
tut
gets delivered?
Jeremia hier, als er befreit wird?
Yes, he stands also before the king,
Er
right?
steht
Before
auch
King
vor dem
Zedekiah.
König. Vor
And he gives
König
him now a
Zedekia.
message.
Und er gibt ihm eine Botschaft.
Okay, yes?
When he gives him the message, it's the time of peace at the 9th hour. Because you basically come out of your first trouble, right? And you become the salt, and you throw the salt into the water, right?
Mhm.
And after you've given the message, you get thrown into prison again.
Also quasi das vor dem Könige hier markiert diese kleine Zeit des Friedens am 9. Stunde, weil du kommst aus dem Gefängnis heraus und du bekommst diese Botschaft für den König, also du wirst den Salz quasi werden und du gibst diese Botschaft, aber du wirst dann gleich wieder ins Gefängnis geworfen, diese nächste Zeit des Trübsals.
Okay, yes. I mean, I don't have a problem with this, okay? But in this story here, at least, maybe it just refers to the time of peace down to verse 21.
Also vielleicht bezieht es nur auf die kleine Zeit des Friedens bis Vers 21.
Because now Jeremiah, he's delivered from prison and he now gets daily bread.
Weil Jeremia hier wird von diesem Gefängnis befreit und er bekommt tägliches Brot.
Okay, which might be then this little time of peace here where he's at. Okay.
Was diese kleine Zeit des Friedens hier markiert, wo es hier beschreibt.
Okay, so, but we already are over the time, and Brother Fyodor mentioned that I can continue tomorrow.
Aber wir sind jetzt
Thank you.
bereits über den Zeit gegangen und Bruder Fyodor hat schon bereits erwähnt, dass ich das hier morgen fortfahren kann.
And that's why I just want to quickly make a summary and then we can close.
So, deswegen werden wir jetzt soweit eine Zusammenfassung machen und für heute werden wir schließen.
Okay, we saw, right, Cestius comes and besieges and he flees here away without any apparent reason.
Wir haben gesehen, dass Cestius kommt hier an und er flüchtet hier weg ohne ersichtlichen Grund.
And the same is with 1848, this revolution lasts for 3 months and it stops without any apparent reason.
Dasselbe mit 1848, diese Revolution, der hier aufgekommen ist, der 3 Monate lang andauerte und hörte plötzlich auf, auch ohne ersichtliche Erklärung.
But in the story of Jeremiah 37, we have the same illustration that now Babylon, which is Rome, besieges Jerusalem.
Aber in derselben Geschichte von Jeremia 37, wir haben hier Babylon, was dasselbe ist wie Rom, der hier Jerusalem belagert.
And Babylon flees away here at the same point. Okay.
Und Babylon am selben Punkt wie Sestius und aber auch 1848, der aufhört, Babylon flüchtet auch weg.
And you have then Jeremiah leaving Jerusalem to flee to the refuge. Okay.
Und auch Jeremia flüchtet von Jerusalem zu den Zufluchtsstadt in Benjamin.
But when he comes now to the gate of Benjamin, of the refuge city,
Aber wenn Jeremia hier zur Tor von der Zufluchtsstadt in Benjamin ankommt,
he now gets falsely accused and delivered up and put into prison.
er wird falsch beschuldigt und er wird ausgeliefert und ins Gefängnis überliefert.
Okay, and then he has he gets smitten and he has this prison experience until he gets out here and gives a message to the king.
Und er wird geschlagen, hat diese Gefängniserfahrung hier, bis er befreit wird und diese Botschaft der König gibt.
And this point I want to also put in place, okay?
Und dieser Punkt, die ich auch hier fest markieren möchte.
So, line upon line, we can now also see another marker why Sestius will flee away here.
Linie auf Linie können wir eine andere Marker hier sehen, warum Sestius hier wegflüchtet.
Okay, based upon this story of Jeremiah 37.
Basiert auf diese Geschichte von Jeremia 37.
It's because of Pharaoh's army.
Es ist wegen Pharaos Armee.
Okay, Pharaoh's army comes here, and I don't know what this illustrates and what this marks, but this is something we have to figure out. Okay?
Ich weiß nicht, was das darstellt in diesem Moment oder was das markiert, aber Pharaos Armee müssen wir herausfinden, was das sagt.
Because this
Was
might
das
also
bedeutet.
fulfill in our time in the tide.
Denn
Okay?
das konnte auch in unserer Zeit hier im Typus auch erfüllen.
Which is also then a sign, or that we must recognize, which which marks that Sestius now flees away.
Was denn auch eine Teil von unseren Zeichen sein wird hier, die wir erkennen muss, was das markieren wird, wo Sestius wegflüchtet.
Therefore, we should really study this out, because we must really understand and see our sign here. Okay?
Deswegen müssen wir das ausstudieren, weil wir müssen unsere Zeichen hier verstehen und aber auch erkennen.
Okay, amen. Can everybody follow?
Kann jeder folgen?
Okay, amen. Then let's close with our prayer round.
Lasst uns mit unserer Gebetsrunde abschließen.